Yoetz of da'aga, of worry. Says King Solomon in Mishlei, Perek Yudbei Pasuk Chafei, da'aga belev ish. Yes, a person who has worry in his heart, what should he do? He should speak it out. He should talk to his friend. Rabbi Yonah says that a friend is for three things. What is a friend for? This in Pirkei Avot says you should acquire yourself a friend. He says it means for three things: for it to speak divrei Torah, for it to get advice, and to talk about your troubles with. I remember I asked my yeshiva one time, I don't have a big group of friends in yeshiva. I don't like the yeshiva. Maybe I want to leave. He says, it says in the Pirkei Avot, Knei lecha chaver, acquire yourself one friend. It doesn't say Knei lecha chevra. It doesn't say you have to have a whole posse of people, a whole entourage. Enough if one friend, one good friend, it's enough. And when you want to talk about your problems, it's better that you have only one friend. Only one friend knows all your stories, all your issues, all your life story. So therefore, he says, Yisihina mida'ato. The Gemara Yimsech Yuma says you should speak it out. You should remove it from your mind and speak it out. Yisahina and inamein yisahina lachirim, or speak it out to other people. You should try to control your mind. If the disciple Gaon, you should tell people, you should teach your students the power of focus and controlling what your mind thinks of, because a lot of times Yetz Hara, number one, he gets where he gets into your life is through your thoughts, bad thoughts. He comes and knocks on your door in your head and forces himself in there like a squatter. And therefore a person has to make sure to control his thoughts. He says if you take the letter Aleph and you think in your mind the letter Aleph, just imagine the image in your brain for keeping it for 10 seconds. Imagine the letter Aleph clearly in your vivid in your mind for 10 seconds straight. You'll see there's millions of thoughts trying to distract you to take away that image in your mind. And you control yourself and you try to do 10 seconds. The next day you do 15. The next day you do 20. And like this, you train yourself to focus on one thing and block thoughts out. It's a very powerful tool for blocking out negative thoughts. So he says, if you're not able to block out negative thoughts, you should speak out the worry you have to your friends, and your friends will give you etzah tova. He says, what the Chachamim tell us, ha'avar ayin, right? The past is the past. The past is gone. Ha'atid adayin, the future is not yet. Da'aga minayin, why do we have to worry? Kum shteyayin, get up and drink wine. Meaning, the past is the past. The future is not here yet. The present is a gift. Present is a present, right? Present is a gift. So therefore, a person should appreciate and be happy with what he has right now. He says, Ma'il da'aga, what does it help to have worry? Ayuchal ha'shivo, you could change what happened already. It's happened. And what happens? And not just that, the worry makes you think as if it's going to help. You worry more, you make yourself stressed out, you start getting gray, you start not sleeping at night, you start getting sick, how many people, you go to any doctor today, all the doctors, all these people who are dying from terminal illnesses, the stress killed them. It's the suffering, it's the pain, it's the emotional side. They did it to themselves. They could have survived, they could have got healthy. It's the stress that kills them. So he says, why should you go and bring yourself stress? It's not going to help you to fix anything. They say, if there's a solution, so you'll do the solution. You have a solution, don't worry. If there's no takana, if there's no solution, worrying is going to help you to get the solution? What does it help to get worried? So therefore he says, very big rule. Yaakov Shweki made a whole song from this Pele Yoetz right now. You look it up afterwards, post in the chat. He says, En davara yored min hashamayim. He made a beautiful song from here. I'll tell you the story in a second. But he says, big rule. Yachshov v'yamin b'emunah shlema she'en davara yored min hashamayim. He says a person has to have a rule. He has to have it chakuk on his liv, engraved on his heart. There is no such thing as a bad thing that comes from Shamayim. Hashem, everything He does is for good. Kol da'avin rahmana letav avid. Everything Hashem does is for the good. We said this story many times. The guy wanted to go on a business trip, go on the boat. He stepped on a nail. He got infected. He had to go to the doctor. He missed the fare. He missed the entire business show. The ship sailed with everybody's merchandise, sank, and everybody lost all their money. And he said, "Thank you to Hashem. I realize now why you made me step on a nail." So you see how everything Hashem does is like this. In the beginning, we don't realize how it's good, but later you will realize it's good. So therefore, the story with Yaakov Shweki was that there was this couple that was hosting a lot of people for Shabbat in Eretz Israel, and they invited a lot of non-religious couples. And there was this one non-religious guy who came for Shabbat. He saw the house and the neighborhood, and it's not for him. It's too much for him. So he said, "I'm leaving." He got in his car Friday, almost by Shabbat, and he wanted to drive away. And this guy who was the host, he jumped into his car. He's like, "If you're leaving, I'm leaving with you. You can't leave. You have to stay with us." And he stayed in the car. He wouldn't get out. He said, you know what, for your kavod, I'm gonna stay. He ended up staying. They had a wonderful Shabbat. He uplifted him like he never had a Shabbat like that in his life. And after Motzei Shabbat, there was a big explosion on their block. Big bomb. Ended up being that this guy who stayed by Shabbat by his house, 2 of his kids were outside and they died. They died in this explosion. And the guy who hosted his son was held by his wife at the time when the explosion happened. She dropped the son, and the son rolled under a car. And under the car, the neighbors saw the baby roll under the car. Everybody was like knocked out from the explosion, and the neighbor came out after, and he saw a baby under a car, and he saw the car's on fire. He jumped into the car, he saved the baby, ran away, and the second he left, the car blew up because of the explosion. So this guy is a miracle child. And the host didn't know what to do. He was thinking like, how am I going to talk to this guy? I forced him to stay by my house on first Shabbat. Ended up being there was an explosion on our block after the Shabbat. 2 of his kids died because I forced him. If he would have went home, nothing would have happened to him. He was thinking all these thoughts, negative thoughts. Ended up being, he said, I have to go say hi to this guy. I have to go visit in Shiva. I have to go say something. I have to show my face. He goes to this house. The guy gets up. He says, Achi, and don't worry, Achi. It was the most wonderful Shabbat. I had to happen. You were just a shaliach. Don't worry, Hashem knows what He's doing. I don't blame you whatsoever. It's not your fault. I love you. He says, from now on, we are family. And then ended up being this boy who rolled under the car. He got saved from the neighbor. He ended up growing up. He was a good singer. He used to have Pele, and he was singing in all these events. And he was becoming a adult. He ended up reading his Pele Yoetz, and he loved it so much he made a song out of it. And Yaakov Shweki, someone showed him this guy who was saved. His sons died. He was a good friend of some artist, and this artist was friends with Yaakov Shweki. They connected everybody together. And this boy is sitting in a room with Yaakov Shweki singing this song that he made for this End of Yoetz Min Hashamayim. So you see how a person in a situation where you would think, I kept Shabbat and Hashem killed my kids. How could it be? He also realized, if he realized, Hashem knows what He's doing, I accept it ba'ava, how much more so us, we also have to accept everything that happens in our life, ba'ava.